Greetings, Laylians, Robin here, and welcome to the very first commentary episode. The way that this is going to work is that every month here on Patreon, I am going to go through 20 pages of Leylines content starting at the very beginning, Chapter 1, and give you sort of live, off the top of my head, commentary as the pages go by. There's about 20 seconds of time for each page. And I plan to just share whatever thoughts, feelings, reflections I have. If you have specific things that you'd like to hear about in the future, just send a note to me or leave a comment below the video, and I'll make sure that you get to enjoy those additional insights that are more catered to what you are curious about. So, Chapter 1. I was noting that Tama there's got this feather, and I had this feather motif, and in many ways that is actually what Mija views Tama as, is this free bird that has sort of flown the nest, where she is still caged at home. And that motif sort of continues throughout, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that Tama has no real connection to that symbol. That's all stuff that Mija has projected, along with his ability to freely express anger, which she does not feel like she has that benefit, which gets her into a lot of trouble with Jiro in particular. Side note, I get a lot of questions about the swirly word balloons that I use for Dream Eater, and I came up with those on accident. I was clicking the effects on the layer and accidentally clicked one when I meant another and went, oh wait, that looks kind of cool. I wonder if I messed around a little bit with it, what that would look like, and lo and behold, it created those swirly word balloons. Speaking of word balloons, holy cow, guys, have I gotten better about word balloons. There's so much. People don't realize that lettering goes far beyond just tail shape and like font choices. There's so much about the balloon, like how you fit the text into the space, how you stack the words, how you match them to the shape of the word balloon, how you incorporate them into page layouts and eye flow across the page, how you help avoid confusion by making it clear who is speaking when and arranging your pages to have lettering in mind so that it's not an afterthought. I think a lot of lettering ends up being an afterthought for people, and it has to be there from the very start to really be effective, and I did not have any of that knowledge when I first started working on this. So it's kind of interesting for me to look back at this and see how far I've really come in that particular area of technical acumen, as it were. I'm remembering there's a bit coming up, I think it's on this page, where Jiro uses the phrase, "vision guard your rest," and in typical writer fashion, I did not think about how that did not mean anything to a reader, because for me, well, vision is a god, obviously, therefore there'll be no confusion, it's a proper noun, but you can't convey proper nouns in all caps text, so whoops. The dress that Mija's wearing is what I decided is a traditional marriage outfit in Itsuri culture, especially since they find the shoulders a very sort of unusual area to have exposed. So you'd normally wear kind of like a full veil over your shoulders, and then it would be something that only your new spouse would see. One of the responses that I got to this page was that people felt like something really, really, really bad was happening to Mija that we couldn't see off screen, and that was not at all what I intended to convey. That all I had envisioned was just that Dream Eater was sort of holding her in this sort of suffocating embrace, but not doing anything beyond that. That's that's my bad for not communicating that as well as I could, but lesson learned on there. Just in general, a lot of more communication things. The women in the background here, the outlines, are foreshadowing to chapter 10. So, where we kind of find out what Mija did, getting back to that inability to say no, that inability to express anger, which she's projected onto Tama and has sort of become that nightmare creature of Diamond Eyes, who has nothing but horrible things to say about everyone. That all kind of comes to a head in chapter 10, so all of that is being laid out here in sort of a messy, metaphorical sense. But Mija really projects this ability to be angry onto Tama, and hence the connection with the Red Bird, who, in the Indulgence version of Raviki, the Red Bird, is an expression of wrath. It's in its actual version is passion, but that's not what Mija knows, and that's not the context the image has taken on for her. So, little things in the background there. I don't know if you caught it, but there's her harp. She has a standing harp. Mija has a proclivity for musical instruments. That doesn't really get established, but it is brought up again later in chapter 10 as well. Or was that 9? No, that was chapter 9. Oh man, this page. Lesson learned on this page was all about counting, not cutting corners. It's interesting, when I first started, I was so worried about not being able to keep up a full color page schedule that I was constantly looking for ways to cut corners. And so all the masks in like this chunk of pages, I did the illustrations of the masks on this page, and then I just skewed the masks on other pages. You can kind of see it in the merchant's little thing there, basket. I can't remember the word. Anyway, and it looks so terrible. And so much of my process has kind of been embracing not cutting corners. Learning how to enjoy the process of backgrounds rather than trying to find ways to avoid having to redraw backgrounds, and utilizing them to tell more of the story so that they're more interesting to me as an experience. I still like Warren's expression. The anatomy is so wonky on these earlier pages, but I really like that expression. There's the everything is fine coming up again. This family's favorite phrase. I actually had someone at a show open up the book and say, "Oh wow, you know things are going to get terrible quickly when the chapter title is Everything is Fine." And I was like, you have no idea. Wow, that went by a lot faster than I was expecting it to. If there was anything, like I said at the beginning, that you would like to know more about as I go through these, please let me know. But we will be going through each chapter 20 pages at a time until we have caught up. So every month I'll be posting one of these sort of retrospectives, looking back at what I've learned, what I was thinking about, little comments on how I developed a certain idea or thought. So I'm open to feedback as always. Thank you so much for joining me today on this first of many comic commentary sessions. I will see you next time.